Hello, my name is Burnett, and today I'll be talking to you about why drivers aged 55 and older should have to take a driving test every 5 years. Attached, I've also had this handout, which is all the statistics in my presentation, just so you can follow along. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, an average of 586 older drivers are injured every day in car crashes. As we get older, we experience age-related declines in vision, hearing, and other abilities, which can affect our driving skills, making for a driving test every 5 years after age 55 a necessity. Driving is such a frequent action in our lives. We are on the roads every day, making the safety of ourselves and others around us so important. We need to stay aware and be educated of the driving rules and laws frequently. On a day-to-day basis, I experience reckless driving and hear of so many accidents and deaths on the news. It is so important to take action for the safety of all the drivers on the road. Today we will be discussing why a driving test every 5 years, explain the health problems faced by these individuals, and tell the good that will come from a driving test. Let's begin with the numbers and statistics to show you the problem at hand. Why a driving test every 5 years? The injuries and deaths on a daily basis due to drivers aged 55 and older are numerous. In 2012, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported that more than 5,560 older adults were killed and more than 214,000 were injured in vehicle crashes. These numbers are amounting to 15 older drivers killed and 586 injured in crashes every day. The number of elderly drivers is increasing, putting a greater risk on the roads. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention states in 2012 there were almost 36 million licensed drivers, which is a 34% increase from 1999. Older drivers are keeping their license longer and driving more miles than in the past in order to keep up with our society. Older drivers seem to be a pretty big percentage for the numbers of fatalities. Insurance Information Institute says that in 2012, drivers aged 65 and older accounted for 17% of all traffic fatalities. Older drivers seem to have a higher rates of fatal crashes. This is based upon the miles driven than any other group, not including our younger drivers. These high statistics are dangerous. I personally see older drivers on the road driving too slow, not following driving laws, and not being aware too many times. And I'm sure we've all experienced this. We've seen the numbers. Now let's move on to the health problems faced by these individuals. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention explains that fatal crash rates increases notably starting in ages 70 to 74, and are highest among drivers aged 85 and older. And this is due to an increased susceptibility to injury and medical complications among our older drivers. Let's begin with vision and hearing changes. Our eyesight worsens with age. Our older eyes need more light and more time to adjust when the light changes, making it harder to see clearly. This is particularly at night. This is why the Insurance Institute information states in 2012 that 75% of traffic fatalities among older drivers actually happen during the day. Our eyes become more sensitive to glares, headlights, streetlights, the sun, etc. And our peripheral vision, our ability to see to the sides while looking forward, is actually impaired with age, increasing our risk of crashes. Eye diseases such as cataracts, glaucoma, and macular degeneration become more common with age, making it harder to read signs and colors. Along with vision, age-related hearing loss makes it hard to hear horns, sirens, and noises from a car, which makes a huge problem because sounds is what warns us of danger. Along with this, we also have physical changes in people with these ages. With age, our information and reaction time appears slower, our attention span shorter, and we have difficulty with multitasking, which can be overwhelming and bring trouble with even just the simple judge of traffic. Our joints stiffen and our muscles weaken, which could be walking trouble or joint pains, and these symptoms put more of a strain on our driving. For example, it can actually affect a person's ability to turn their head, to turn the steering wheel, to apply the brake or the gas. We also, as we get older, experience more health conditions. Health problems are seen in older people and actually may affect their driving. For example, diabetes. This makes a person's blood sugar level too high or too low, making one dizzy, sleepy, also sometimes resulting in a loss of consciousness and even seizures. Another is arthritis, which makes a person's joints swollen and stiff, limiting the movement of the shoulders, hands, head, or neck, which can make it hard to, again, grasp the steering wheel, to apply the brake or the gas, put on the seatbelt, even just get in and out of the car. A more extreme case is Alzheimer's disease, which for some cases there may no longer be able to drive. It might not be safe. But in this case, people get lost while driving, even in the familiar places that they're used to every day. And they're in need of a lot of help with directions. We have talked about health problems and the risk to older drivers. Now, let's consider the good that will come from implicating this test. To start off, safety. Referring back to the facts and health problems to drivers 55 and older, it would be a safety precaution to really know which drivers are capable of being on the road in a safe manner. To be eligible to drive, older adults should be required of vision, hearing, physical, as well as a driving test. The vision, hearing, and physical test just to be done by your care physician, just to make sure drivers are in the condition to drive. The driving test be done at a local DMV to make sure drivers are aware of all current rules or laws as well as past. I know a lot of you are thinking right now, cost. One statement, let's begin with the vision, hearing, and physical exams done by a doctor. These are routine checkups, which you should be getting every year anyway, so they're not something that's really going to have to put a cost into your pocket. And a lot of the time, people seem to put money over the safety and lives of themselves. Yes, we will be having to pay a fee. However, in the end, we'll be saving so many more lives. According to the DMV of Colorado, the driver's license fee is $21 for first-time drivers, and this is including a driving test. And a Colorado driver prep course is $14.95, if needed to be reminded of the driving rules and laws. Looking at these numbers, it would most likely not be too expensive to pay for the safety of ourselves as well as others around us. Let's be smart on the streets. With drivers who are knowledgeable and safe, we have a lot less of those rude and dumb drivers we typically see every day. Our streets will be a place we can stress over less and worry less about the drivers and what they're thinking, if they're going to be safe or not. According to NIH Senior Health, the most common mistakes of older drivers are failing to yield to the right way, failing to stay in the lane, speeding, or driving too slow. And these can all be fixed simply by continually reminding our older drivers of the simple rules with 5-year exams, making our streets a safer place. We now understand the seriousness of educating our older drivers and making sure they are physically able to drive. Now let's recap all the ideas I've mentioned today. As people get older, their driving patterns change. Age-related difficulties with vision, hearing, and other abilities affect our driving school, which is why it is important to take a driving test for ages 55 and older every 5 years. We have seen the numbers of the injuries and deaths due to older drivers, heard about the health problems